and find the section you want. Hi, I'm Monica, and I've been a script supervisor for over 34 years. Now, I've done a lot of different breakdowns, and I've worked on several different formats like features and commercials and pilots. And today I'm going to be walking you through how to create a breakdown using the ScriptE program from beginning to end. Now, I got to tell you, when I first started using this program, I was a little intimidated by it. In fact, for the first 2 years, I only used it for the breakdown. To do a show with another script supervisor, and she insisted that I use the program on set. So I was terrified, but I bit the bullet, and I brought my ScriptE program with my iPad, and I also had my script in hand with my paper notes. And after 2 days, I ditched the script because I found that it was so easy to use on set. The transition was really so easy. So I think the only thing I'm kicking myself now for is that I just didn't do it sooner. So anyway, let's get started. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about breakdowns because ours is not the only one on set. There is the script supervisor's breakdown, there's the assistant director's breakdown. The director has his own version of a breakdown. The gaffer may have his. Wardrobe definitely has their breakdown. Hair and makeup has their breakdown as well. So each of the keys or the heads of the departments have their own version of a breakdown. And of course, there's the script supervisor breakdown. And now, you may not only have one breakdown. You may have a timing breakdown. You also may have a timeline breakdown, which is what I had when I was working on This Is Us. I had to have a separate breakdown for the entire show because we went in and out of different years. And then you also might have another type of breakdown, which I created when I was working on a show in Puerto Vallarta, where it was a jungle, and it was a chase scene in a jungle. And there were certain spots in the script where he was in the jungle, and you know, when you're looking at different locations, you know, it just says jungle, 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 jungle. So what I did was I made a map. And I said, okay, scene 1, he's coming out of the, you know, he leaves the jail and he's clean. And then at this point at scene 12, he falls into the water and he gets, his pants are muddy now. And then down over here in scene 28, he broke his leg. And then over here in scene 40, he loses his glasses. So because we were jumping around and filming different things, I needed a visual to see where all those things were happening. And in fact, I created it for myself, but it turned out that a lot of the keys, the wardrobe and the different departments really liked what it looked like. So they asked me to make copies for them because it was easier to follow, you know, than just a regular breakdown. So again, depending on the show, you create a breakdown that is going to help you track things in that particular show. Okay, so let's go into the different breakdowns that I've used in my shows. What you're seeing here is my iPad. I normally work on an iPad for the ScriptE program. But I'm going to show you what the breakdown looks like in ScriptE. So here is a typical breakdown for my show using the ScriptE program. And as you can see, there's columns that you can create a spreadsheet out of this very easily. The only difference is that if you notice here in each of the scenes, it's stacked. So you have scene 1, and then you have the description, and then below it is the one-line description for that particular scene. So in a spreadsheet, you would divide that up because you would want to have them in columns. So you would put in the first column, you would put scenes. And then the way I created my script before, I would put a column for interior and then another column for location. So interior, exterior, and then the next one would be location, which would be Jack and Rebecca's house. And then the next column would be description. So that's where this one line here would go. So you would have columns, and then the rest is the same. So you would have the characters, which is when you're working on a show. each character has their own number. So this tells you, like for example, at a glance, I can see this. I see characters 1 and 2 are in scene 1. Well, I know Jack is number 1 and Rebecca's number 2. So if I go through this, I can see, okay, the Jack is in scene 1, he's in scene 2, he's in scene 3, he's in scene 4, but he's not in scene 5. So the director may, we may be shooting, say, let's go down here, scene 10, where Jack is in the scene, and the director may turn to me and say, okay, well, when's the last time we saw Jack? Well, I'll go to my breakdown and I'll look up here and I'll say, okay, well, the last time we saw him was in scene 4. So it's a very easy reference. And then, of course, we have the day-night breakdown, which is the story day. And if you notice here, I don't only put just day 1 and day 2 in this situation, because again, we were going in and out of years. I had to put the year first and then day 1. Like for example, scene 1 was 1981 day 1, and then scene 2 was 1985 day 1, and then scene 3, it's 1989 day 1, and then of course we go into night 4 was 1990 night 1. So on the breakdown for the AD, he has just day 1, but I need to know, okay, well, that's not all the same day. These are all different years. So this is how I was able to create my breakdown, which made it a lot easier. And then when it just went to day 1, that always meant that that's present day. So I never had to put a year in front of it because we always had present day. And then of course we go into the date, and the date, and that's story day. So when I normally create a breakdown, I always give it a date, because I need to know, okay, more or less, when was that? So in this situation, we have I gave it a date of August 31st, 1981. And then of course we have time, and that's time of day of that particular scene. Okay, so when the director says, okay, what time was scene 1? Well, I have it down as 6 p.m. And usually you don't usually give it a 6 p.m. It's never usually on the dot unless it says it is in the script. I usually, when we're on set, I'll say, well, this is around 6 o'clock. What time would you like to have it? And they'll say, oh, give it a 6:12. 6:12 p.m. or whatever. And then I will make an adjustment there. But I just give it a general time so that I know that I have an answer for anybody asking me what time of day it is. And then of course we have the eighths of a page, and then the ERT, which is the estimated running time. And this is automatically put in by ScriptE automatically. This is the general breakdown for, in the ScriptE program. And again, you can create this breakdown with a spreadsheet. Now I'm going to show you another breakdown that I normally use. And this was the breakdown that I used for my timeline, and this I did use on a separate spreadsheet. And if you notice here, I put years. So the first year that I knew, for example, Jack's birthday, we knew we knew his age, and we guesstimated it was August 31st, 1944. Okay, and then of course, we show that he was born on that day. And I make a note here so that if there was something else happening in 1944, I can put that there. And then, of course, I have a column for each of the characters. So, for example, William was born in 1945. And then Rebecca Mandy was born in 1950. And then, of course, Nicky, Jack's brother, was born in 1947. So and then if you go down here, I can see down here, when Rebecca was pregnant. Okay, she was 1 month pregnant on December 1st. She was 2 months pregnant on January 1st, and because those things when we go back and we have to maybe shoot something, you know, about her pregnancy, I can say, oh, well, you know what? This was in July when she was 8 months pregnant. So we got to make sure that her wardrobe matches that. You know, if it's July, it's kind of warm, so she's not going to be wearing a, you know, a parka. So, you know, so we have to allow for that. And then of course, then the kids are born. You know, Randall, uh, Kate and Randall and Kevin, they were all born then. And then, but if you look over here, you can see, okay, well, if they asked you, well, how old was Nikki when the kids were born? When you look over here and he says, oh, well, he was 33. Or, you know, we can see how old was Rebecca when the babies were born. She was 30 and he was 36. So this is a very easy breakdown that I created myself. And then, of course, I have notes down here for, you know, as I'm going through the script, I'm certain key moments that I want to remember. I'll say, okay, these are key moments for Jack. These are key moments for Kevin or Randall or Kate or Beth. So you just want to jot them down when you're working on episodic so that you can have an easy reference. And as you do an episode, you can add to it and add to it. And by the time, you know, after season 1, you have a pretty good picture of, you know, what's going on. Okay. So let's get out of that. And I'm going to show you now the breakdown for the AD. All right. So let's go into the AD's breakdown. Now, if you notice, the AD's breakdown is just basically the schedule, the one-liner, and it's very similar to our breakdown, and I think it's most similar than any of the other breakdowns of the other departments. But this is where you want to make sure that you, when you get the schedule from the AD, you want to make sure the things that match are the page count. Okay, and the characters that are in that particular scene. So, for example, scene 1. Remember, I said I had Rebecca and Jack were in those scenes. Well, he also has Rebecca and Jack 1 and 2 in that scene. So does he have him in scene 2. And then, of course, you know, and then his one-line description of that scene. Okay. Now, my one-line description may be different than his one-line description. You can, you know, keep it the same, but again, remember, your breakdown is what is easiest for you to understand, so that when somebody comes to you for a question about the breakdown, you can answer it very quickly. So, you know, I can see here the big 3 celebrate their first birthday, begin A1. Okay, I'm not sure what begin A1 is, but that is pertinent to the AD, not so much for myself. So if we look at my breakdown, let's see here. In my breakdown, I put 1-year-old birthday celebration. Okay, let's look at our breakdown again. I put in my breakdown 1-year-old birthday celebration. So again, that's very simple. I don't have to put any more than that. His is a little more detailed, and there's some that I put more detail because there's things that I want to, you know, remember. So anyway, that's what the breakdowns look like. So let's get into how to create the breakdowns now. Okay, so we're back in my iPad and we're going to start creating a script. Now we're going to download the script from scratch. I'm going to create it from new, and I did another video on how to download a script. I'm going to go through this very quickly so that we don't spend too much time on that. We're going to open it up and we're going to go up here to add. Okay, up to the add button. And then we're going to put the file. Now, since I already have a episode 113 here, I'm going to call it, this is STIU 113 test. Okay, and then I'm going to press enter. Now that creates another file over here. All right, I'm going to open it up. Now it's blank because it hasn't been downloaded yet. I'm going to click on the revisions, and of course it's blank because we haven't put anything in there, but we have to have it open for when we download the script. So now let's go into the file, and here is the white draft. And I'm going to, first of all, I want to make sure that we're on the right page. Okay, the scene, we have several pages before the script starts, so we will need to make note of what page the script starts on, which is page 6. And we're going to download it here into the ScriptE program. There it is. And there it is. So now we're going to add it here. We're going to call this the white draft. White draft. And then we're going to click on that file and import it. It's going to ask us what page does it start on, and we're going to say page 6. We're going to proceed. Now it's showing me a preview. We say, yep, that's correct. And it's asking me if based on the preview, is it correct? You're going to say yes. And now it says it's been imported. So let's get this out of here. And there is the script, okay, for the white pages. It says the white draft that we just added in there. Okay, so now we're going to start working on our breakdown. So the first thing we'll want to do is click on the first scene, okay? And here we're going to put in our day. And of course, you're going to do your one-liner. You're gonna read the script, and then you're going to say, okay, first of all, you're going to say, okay, what day is it? This is day 1. This is day 1 of 1981. So we're going to put 81, day 1. And the date, so we said August 31st, 1981. And we enter. And when you put the date in there, ScriptE automatically puts the day of the week in there as well, which is great. So you don't have to go over there and figure it out. And that's important too, because when you're working on the breakdown, you know, if the script is saying, you know, this is happening on the weekend, you have to make sure that the date that you enter there is actually happening on the weekend, okay? And then we said it was about 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. We're going to enter that up here. All right. Now, again, when you download the script, it automatically, and let me show you what the breakdown looks like right now. We downloaded it, and this is what ScriptE automatically puts in into the script. Okay, normally adds the scene number, the interior or the location of the scene. It puts the characters. It doesn't put the day night because we just put that in. It doesn't put the date. It doesn't put the time. It does put the page count, and it does put the estimated time. Okay, so that right there takes a lot of off your plate that you don't have to put in right away. So, but we haven't put in a description yet. So let's go out of this. Let's go out of this, and we're going to put in a description. And remember, when we read this, it was the 1-year-olds are having a birthday. You could put more in there if you'd like. You can actually put in there too, Jack is taking a video of the kids. Okay? All right. So what we also want to do here is we want to see over here in the characters. All right. Now there's nothing in here because there's no dialogue, and many times, sometimes ScriptE won't, if there's no dialogue, it won't put a character in there. So what we have to do is we have to add the character in. So in this situation, we're going to add. Now, if you notice, the characters are out of order because ScriptE will automatically put in the characters in order of appearance if you don't tell it or export another character list in there. So let's get out of here. And we are going to go down here into characters. Okay, this is the way it automatically downloads it. Now, when you have the AD will normally have a list of characters for you, on his schedule, and they all have their numbers. So you want to be able to put these characters in the right place. So we know that Jack is number 1. Okay, so and where do we have Jack? Jack is number 3 here. So we're going to rearrange them. So we're going to rearrange, and we're going to put Jack. Where is he? There he is. We're going to put him at the top. And of course, Rebecca is number 2. We're going to move her to number 2. And then we have Kate. Kate is number 3. And then we have, I believe it's Kevin or Randall. It's Randall and then Kevin, and I don't remember what the other ones. I think Beth is next. Anyway, it's been a while, but anyway, you arrange them according to their character number. And if you want more detail, you can actually click on that particular character, like Jack, and put the actor. I need to say yes. We've done that. Okay. You can also go into more detail, like put Jack, and you can say, okay, Jack's name is Milo Ventimiglia. I'm not sure if that's the right spelling or not. We're going to say okay, and there he is. And then, of course, we know that Rebecca is Mandy Moore. And we enter there. And you can go down the list of all the characters. Now, the reason that you don't have to put that in there, but it's very handy for when you're on the set and you don't want to have to take a look at your call sheet to figure out who's who. So it's a very easy in your script here. You can always just click on the character and say, okay, what's Rebecca's name? And oh, it's Mandy Moore. Okay, great. It comes in very handy when you have guest actors, when they're only there for that one episode, and you want to put their actor's name in there, so it's an easy reference, and you don't have to be searching around for it. So anyway, so once you put all of these characters in the correct order, you want to put export. You want to click on export, and the reason you want to export them is it exports it to a file. So that when you create the next episode, and let's just do that right now. Let's close this down and say we're on to episode 114. So we're going to add, and we're going to say this is us, 114 test, enter. Now there's our test file. We don't have any script added in there yet, but if we go down here to character, we want to import. We just imported this. This is us 113 right here. So we're going to export that, and there it is. So now what that does is that when you import the script into this new episode, it's going to keep them in that same order, as opposed to when we first imported it on the other episode on 113. It imported them as order of appearance. Okay, so it's very important that you export them so that you could have it handy, so you don't have to keep on doing this every time you have an episode. Obviously, you don't have to do this if you're working on a feature, maybe a pilot, because if you get picked up and you end up doing the show, you want to have them in order. But that way you can just export it, and you can always have it there and just do some adjustments as it goes. But the main characters will always be there. So let's get back into our main script, to our characters, and there they are, and we're going to say done. Let's go back to our scene breakdown, and in here we're going to put characters. Now they're not there, so we need to add them in. So we want to put Jack, and Jack he's non-speaking, and the reason that you want to put non-speaking is that when ScriptE enters a scene, say scene 1, it has a revision. When it enters that scene in there and it says non-speaking, it's going to automatically recognize it. If you put it there on screen, then it's going to be looking for it, and it's going to do the same thing. It's not going to put it in there because he doesn't have any lines. So same thing with Rebecca. Rebecca doesn't have any lines either, so we're going to put her as non-speaking. So we're going to save that. There they are. Now let's go back to our report and preview, and now there it is. The 1-year-olds having a birthday. Jack is taking a video of the kids, and you have and NS means non-speaking, so we have Jack, who's number 1, Rebecca, who's number 2, and they're non-speaking. You have their story day, and there's the date of the scene of the actual story day, the time, the page count, and the estimated time. Now, I do several passes when I'm doing a script. Okay. Oh, and just let me show you while we're here, down here at the bottom of the script, it gives you the projected running time total. Okay, and it tells you how many scene numbers and how many pages are in that scene. Now, if you notice here that it says Act 6 has 5 pages and projected running time is 5 minutes. Now, ScriptE divides it up into Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and gives you a projection of each one of those acts. So the producer may ask you, well, how long are we, how is that first act running? You can say, well, I have a projected time of 14 minutes and 52 seconds. That's projected. That's an estimated running time, the ERT. I haven't actually, and this is based on ScriptE's breakdown. So let's get out of here. Now, again, up here is your ERT, okay? And this is where you're going to be putting, once you, again, like I said, I do several passes. So the first pass that I do, I'm going to go in and put the one-liner in it. I'm going to put the one-liner. I'm going to put the ScriptE. I'm going to, if I don't know the date offhand or the time, I'm going to skip that. And I'm just going to put the ScriptE and the one-liner. And I'm going to go through the whole script and I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to come back. And now, okay, now at least I have everything in there in terms of the meat of it. Now I'm going to do another pass for just the date. Okay, and then here, if you want to sort it out according to the day of the script, you can. And I'm going to show you how we can do that. I'm going to go out. I'm going to close this up, because I'm going to go to the script that we already have that's already done, because that one has all of our, see here it has the day, night, and say you need to know, okay, you're trying to track a certain timeline, and it's kind of all over the place because it goes to 81, 85, and then day 1, day 2, then it goes to 90, and then it goes to 93, it's kind of all over the place. So say you just want to track the scenes that are in 1990. So if you go out of here and you go back to reports, you say, oh, I just want to track them by script day and location. So you want to click on that, and then you're going to go preview. So now it's going to put it in script day order. So FBD is flashback day. Okay, this is a flashback of the cemetery. We didn't know the date or time of that, so I just left it blank. But and it was a one-shot deal, so it wasn't very important that we knew what date it was. But then it's going to put it in order. So it's going to go to day 1, and then it's going to go flashback day 1. It's going to go day 2, and then it's going to go into continues in day 2, and then we go, there isn't a night 2, so the night 2 would be right below that. But then we're going to go into the date is 1981, day 1, so it looks like there's only one day 1981. That's great. Okay, there's only one day 1985. There's only one day 1989, and then we go into 1990, and we've got day 3 here. The reason it says day 3 is because over here, if you go down here, night 1 is the first day of 1990, but it's not a day, it's a night. So ScriptE shows that it's a day. The D comes before the N, so it puts in that order. So it'll say night 1, and then night 2, and then night 3, and then of course, and over here, then it goes back to day 3. So that's the only, thing about ScriptE. It doesn't really know. It's a spreadsheet, when you think about it. So it'll put but it'll group it as opposed to, the way the script is normally. When you have a regular breakdown, it's kind of all over the place. You got, night 1 up here, and then you've got some, night 2 over here. And then down here is day 3, you know, so it's kind of all over, and you don't want to have to be, it's just an easier way to view it, especially on our show, like I said, when we're jumping around so much. So let's see, let's go back to our test. And that's pretty much it. So you create your breakdown, then you continue on with the rest of the breakdown. Then again, once you do your pass on the one line and the day, then you do another pass on just the date, and then you may do another pass. I usually leave the time of day to the last. And then you're going to do another pass for the timing if they're going to ask you for a timing, which they always did with us. We always got paid for our timing. So and then what you want to do is you want to read this, and you want to take at least 3 timings on each scene, and you get an average for each scene. When you read it, you're visualizing it. You know, you have to imagine, okay, she's lighting the candles and this is happening, and you in your mind, you have to visualize what's happening, in that scene, and you have to give it a general, now ScriptE gave it 23, that may or may not be right, depending on what your timing is. But this is where you change it here. Say it was, instead of 23, it came out to 27 was your timing. Okay, so you change it there. And here, for the eighths of a page, here it's going to show you the eighths, and then this will show you the pages. So if it was 1 and 1/8 pages, over here it's going to show as 7. All right, and the reason being is, and that goes into when you're actually crediting your scene for the day. So we're not going to go into it. Just for right now, all you need to know is the eighths of a page is always here, and then this is what shows, the total of that scene. So again, if this said 1, and let's see if we have another one over here. Okay, so here, this scene 4 is actually 3 pages, and it's 24/8 of a page. Okay, so so that's it. That's how you do a breakdown in ScriptE. And of course, when you're finished, if you go back over here, when you're finished with your breakdown, you come here to reports, and you can click on here for the breakdown and who you want to send it to. You want to email it, and you can email it and put whoever you need to email it to, and then you just send it off here. Delete the draft now. Let's get out of this. You'll have a list of people that you're going to be sending that breakdown to. So you always want to include all the keys. Some of them are going to want it, some of them aren't. The one that you absolutely have to make sure that you always get and make sure that you're on the same page as is wardrobe. And the reason wardrobe is so important is because you have to make sure that they are on the right page, because you can maybe get away with a time difference, but you can't get away with wardrobe. So if they have day 1 or day 4 for one scene, and you have actually day 3, you're going to have different wardrobes. So that's huge. And they have more conversations with the production because they're closer to it. So if they say no, well, I already talked to them and they said this, okay, well then you change the breakdown according to that. And then the final is you send it to the script coordinator, who basically is going to give the check off for it all. So you can say, okay, here's my breakdown, check it, let me know if it all looks correct, because this is what I'm guessing it is, to make sure that the days match, the days are correct. And what is happening in that scene, the time of day and the date, okay? Because you want to make sure that the date is correct, because again, wardrobe, if the date is wrong, say you have it happening in July, and wardrobe said, no, I already talked to the director and he said he wanted it to happen in December. Well, that's a big difference in wardrobe. Are they wearing coats or are they wearing shorts? So that's very